America during the 1800s was changing rapidly. Since declaring its independence, America was still trying to determine its own identity. From 1800 to 1860, the number of American states had doubled. Millions of immigrants had arrived in the country to try and carve a life for themselves. Two distinct cultural and economic societies had formed, the North and the South, and life in these two areas were radically different. Those living in North America had already taken steps toward industrialization. The northern climate was better for smaller farmsteads, and by the 1860s, the percentage of agricultural workers dropped from 70% to 40% of the populace. The number of people living in urban areas rose, with many moving from farming communities into the cities. The population was much larger than that of the South, and they had begun to produce goods and establish trade networks with the help of factories, railroads, and trade ports. 4 million immigrants arrived in the North between 1840 and 1860 alone. Many of them worked in factories and were an essential workforce in the North. Since the end of the 1700s, northern states had started to abolish slavery, although even in these free states, there were still people kept as slaves. This trend started to worry the people of the slave states, particularly in the South. The southern United States was predominantly agricultural, ranging from large plantations to small farms. The warmer climate was ideal for the production of crops like tobacco and cotton. The owners of the plantations relied on the exploitation of black people to maintain their lifestyles and continue to turn the profits to which they were accustomed. The plantations were so profitable that they did not need industrialization, primarily due to the enslaved people working the fields. The slave states wanted to keep the abolition movement in check, so they determined that there needed to be a balance of free and slave states. Between 1812 and 1850, states were only admitted in pairs, with one being free and the other a slave state. But by 1858, the number of free states outnumbered the slave states by 17 to 15. By the time the war broke out in 1861, America was a country divided in many ways.